All right, man, peace. So now this is going to be part two to Ray Allen's tell-all pertaining to his tell-all book. When we left off, Max Kellerman was asking Ray Allen the hypothetical question of whether or not Rajon Rondo and Rajon's presence on the Boston Celtics is what played an integral role in Ray's decision to depart from the Boston Celtics. So let's pick up now where we left off.
We're back here with Ray Allen. Good to have you with us. Of course, your book out now on shelves. We will let Max pick it up, though. Take it away, my friend.
Go ahead, Max.
Ray, I think you've articulated well why you made the decision you did. What I would like to ask you about is Paul Pierce's jersey retirement ceremony. You were golfing that day, and in those circumstances, usually the rule of thumb is even if you don't feel unwanted, maybe you show up for the other guy because it's about them. What happened there, and how do you feel about it now?
Well, I don't know if it's the rule of thumb to just show up even if you're not wanted there. I'm not sure why you would do that. If anything, that may take attention away from what the festivities may actually be about. So I don't agree with Max Kellerman's assertion that the rule of thumb is to show up at places where you may not be wanted if you're not invited.
Well, I felt extremely bad that I wasn't there. How that happened, it was so interesting because, first of all, I wasn't invited. It was totally outside of the orb. I know everybody was talking about it, and that was what it was.
That was my only criticism. I
Yeah.
thought you should have been there.
Yeah, and so, so much has been said about or talked about, with what was going on with us and how I wasn't invited here and I wasn't invited there. So at no point did anybody reach out to me and say, we would love for you to be here. I had a scheduled appearance, with a Chinese company that I had to be out in LA that was scheduled 2 months in advance.
Okay.
So,
And also, let's please keep in mind that prior to that event taking place, and when I say that event, I'm referencing Paul Pierce's jersey being raised to the rafters. There was a controversy pertaining to when that would take place because of the issues between Danny Ainge and Isaiah Thomas supposedly wanting to have his video tribute on the night that Paul Pierce was getting his jersey raised. So I never had a problem with Ray Allen not being there in the first place, if for no other reason, all the negative vibes that were surrounding his history with the Boston Celtics and his teammates. I think that even if he had made a conscious decision to not attend because he did not want to be the recipient or at the center of any type of negativity, I would have totally understood, but that's just me.
So I knew nothing, honestly, about, his jersey retirement. So when I was in LA, it was interesting. I was playing golf with George Lopez, and I would have never posted anything because I didn't even know that it was happening at the time that it was happening because it was 12 o'clock on the West Coast. George Lopez happens to hit a hole-in-one, and I was excited for him, and I posted a picture, and then I realized, wow, this was happening at the same time that Paul was getting his jersey retired in the Garden. I knew nothing of it.
Got it. Let me get back to a bigger issue. You talked about when you were in negotiations in your backyard, and you were talking to Ainge and what have you, and you had text KG, and KG said they're going to take care of you. Once it was learned that they wouldn't take care of you, did KG, Paul Pierce, Kendrick Perkins, Rondo, did any of them reach out to you? Did they reach out to the Boston Celtics on your behalf in support of you, to your knowledge?
Not that I know of.
And let me say this, everyone is acting as if it was Ray Allen's responsibility to reach back towards his former teammates and tell him what occurred or tell them what occurred. And that's not his responsibility. If anything, as former compatriots, as former soldiers in arms, since people like to make these wartime analogies pertaining to professional sports, they should have reached and contacted him and told him sorry to hear what happened in the negotiations with the Boston front office. That's how you clear the air. So that tells me that there is a disconnect in regards to communication and that Ray Allen's version of what occurred is not copacetic with what Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett believe occurred.
But on my behalf, once you sign that contract, it's like now you have to think about what exactly just happened.
Immediately, in other words, once you sign that contract with the new team, you're now in Miami Heat mode. You're not even thinking about the Boston Celtics anymore.
Each one of us have been put or thrust into a situation where you sign with another team and you have to say, what exactly does this mean? I'm staying put or I'm moving somewhere else. Now I had to start putting that process in place.
And beyond that, it's not just about joining a new franchise. Now he has to figure out what school his children are going to be attending that coming year, where he and his family are going to live. There's a lot that accompanies a decision like that. So once again, they're trying to put the onus on Ray Allen and why he was not communicative towards his teammates, as opposed to why they did not make the effort to reach him and find out exactly what happened. And they're all grown just like he's grown. They're all veterans just like he's a veteran. It was incumbent upon them, in my view. Not one of them reached out to him to find out what was going on. That tells me that he was an outsider in that locker room before he left.
So the minute that happened, that's when the vitriol starts. That's when I have to now deal with the backlash. You know, I've had players.
I think the brother meant vitriol.
Twittering that, you know, I'm a traitor.
Yep.
Tweeting, yeah, sorry. That I'm a traitor all of a sudden.
Who tweeted that?
I'm not going to call him out, but
Okay.
I just know who, and I remember who it was. Because
You should call them out, Ray, and embarrass them. Because a lot of these guys are clowns. How the hell could you be a traitor when you're on a professional sports team? And dude, act like you switched over from fighting for the Bosnians to fighting for the Croatians.
because I've learned don't speak on somebody else's business in this game, because everybody makes their own decisions for their own reasons.
Absolutely. And your family comes first.
We all have families. That's what I don't understand, is like for another player in this league to say, oh, it was wrong and he went there. Like, we don't criticize another player because we know what it means to do what we need
So
to do.
you feel, Ray Allen feels, he's been wrong as opposed to you thinking you did them wrong?
I don't think that he feels like there's been any wrong or anyone has been wronged on either side. I think that he's flummoxed at the fact that people like yourself are trying to propagate this notion that there should be some emotional connection to a player exercising his free agency rights. That's what he's confused by, and that's what I've always been confused by. If you're going to take that tact, if you're going to try to promote that sentiment, then be consistent with it. Don't just pick one or two players or certain star players and say, oh, how could they leave this franchise for that franchise, and try to connect it to some form of disloyalty. It's all business.
Say that again?
Do you feel that you are the one that has been wrong in terms of the relationship with the players? I'm not talking about the negotiations. I'm not talking about the Celtics. I'm talking about KG, Kendrick Perkins, Paul Pierce, Rondo. You believe you have been wronged as opposed to them feeling like they've been wronged by you?
First of all, Kendrick Perkins wasn't even on the team when I left.
Beyond that, Kendrick Perkins is a bum-ass player. He was a bum-ass player for the vast majority of his career, and he gets more publicity, more media shine for a bum-ass player than any bum-ass player I've ever seen. I mean, the greatest benefit that Kendrick Perkins ever played to the Boston Celtics was in 2010 when he acted as another player who could guard the post. That's why his injury hurt them for Game 7 against the Lakers. That's about it. He's just a dude who brought 6 fouls to the game. He has no skills whatsoever.
So he's
That's
not,
true.
he doesn't.
Went to OKC, yeah.
Yeah, he's not even qualified to let Ray Allen's name come out of his mouth. Like, give me a break.
It's not about right and wrong. You know, we're talking about
Thank you, sir.
signing a contract to go to another team. Like, why is there a right and wrong?
There is no right and wrong. You're absolutely correct. The reason why they're trying to promote right and wrong is hopefully to create a media narrative and a news cycle where they can use your story as fodder for a couple of weeks. That's all it's about, Ray Allen. So you're just the new flavor of the month or of the week. You know, when they get tired of your storyline, they don't move on to LeBron or something along those lines, or whoever happens to make a big mistake. But when they don't have anything real to talk about, they'll talk about anything and they'll make something out to be what it's not. Very similar to when Kevin Durant decided to leave the Oklahoma City Thunder and sign with the Golden State Warriors, or when LeBron decided to leave Cleveland for Miami. Supposedly the so-called black man cannot leave and go anywhere. You're just supposed to stay where you're located and be quote-unquote loyal. And if you get traded, oh well. That's part of the business.
I went and won a championship. Why are people telling
And
me?
beat them to do it.
Yeah.
No, Stephen A. Smith, the Miami Heat did not beat the Boston Celtics to win their title in 2013.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that you beat your old boys to do it.
No, we didn't play in the playoffs.
No. You're right. It was before you came. You're right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about that.
Why do I have to apologize for doing something that I was supposed to do?
You don't have to apologize, brother. Not even a little bit.
When we get drafted into this league, they tell us, do you have goals of winning the championship? That's our mission. That's our goal. Wherever we end up, we're fortunate to be with a team that shares the same mindset. the players share the same mindset to want to come out and believe in the process every single day. That's been my mission forever. I've done it. I tried it in Milwaukee, I failed. Tried it in Seattle, I failed. Won in Boston, and then ultimately going to Miami.
Just to be clear, so they're salty, you're not.
I never was salty.
Obviously, Ray Allen has never been salty. The only people suffering from sodium issues are his former teammates on the Boston Celtics. That's why I did a video about it called 5 Chicks Attack Ray Allen, pertaining to that episode of that little skit that Kevin Garnett does where he makes a jackass of himself wearing a hoodie on half of his head, and his teammates showed up there to all talk about Ray Allen like 5 chicks at a beauty salon.
You win a championship together, 2008. That's why I was shocked the day when I tried to at least give KG Pound. It wasn't, I'm against you now. I understand. I'm an enemy to you now. But it's not personal.
And beyond that, that was like 5.5 years ago. Like, just the fact that we still talking about that he tried to give KG a pound and KG didn't give him a pound, it just shows you how silly this whole shit is. Like, give me a break.
The only way we can appreciate what it is that we do is by our opposition. We understand our true greatness because the people next to us or across the aisle pushes us to be who we need.
So
Absolutely.
How did you feel because KG got Area 21 Max and he got Area 21 and the crew showed up on TNT? Paul Pierce was there, Rondo was there, Perkins was there. They were all talking about you.
Yeah, looking like 5 bitches. And Kendrick Perkins and Big Baby Davis, they had no business being there. Those guys was a couple scrubs. They should have been happy to have played with the great Ray Allen. And that's the bottom line. Ray Allen's a first ballot Hall of Famer. They should have been happy to have played with him and been on the same team with him. Kendrick Perkins and Big Baby Davis, they're like the modern version of Stacey King and Scott Williams. For those of you brothers who go back to the early 90s and those Bulls teams, a couple of backup forwards who were asked to play 7 or 8 minutes a game and give up 6 fouls. That's about it.
How did you feel when you saw that segment?
2 things. I was disappointed that Perkins was there. We had a conversation 2 weeks earlier, and he said he was out of the fray because he knew who I was and where I stood. Big Baby was there. He was talking about me, and Big Baby I took underneath my wings, and I tried to do everything I can to help him be who he needed to be for this league and grow him.
Well, clearly, even you couldn't get through to his dumbass Ray, because that dude is still a big jackass, and he left millions of dollars on the table because he couldn't stay away from the Popeyes chicken.
In this game, so those 2 players weren't even on the team in 2011, so they didn't even have the right to comment.
Absolutely. And not only did they not have the right to comment because they were not on the 2011 team, they didn't have the right to comment because they're not worthy to speak your name. It's just reality. When you're talking about NBA circles, guys sitting near the end of the bench or even guys coming off the bench early, they don't have the right to speak the name of certain stars. Ray Allen is one of the players that helped carry the NBA through the post-Michael Jordan era. When you talk about Kobe Bryant, Ray Allen, Vince Carter, Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, Allen Iverson, these guys helped the NBA in that transitional period from the end of the Michael Jordan era up to the era that we have now, which is pretty much a renaissance of free-wheeling basketball. So the NBA has a lot to thank Ray Allen for. And he was basically Reggie Miller 2.0. He was Reggie Miller with an off-the-dribble game.
So, excuse me, the other 2 is just, you're talking about something I would have much more appreciated if you brought me on the show. And you told me, let's clear the air, let's figure this out.
Well, it would have been difficult for them to bring you on the show because then how would they gossip like 5 bitches?
KG should have invited you on the show.
Let's mend the fences. Instead of being, sitting here talking about why you're mad at me.
Yeah, like 5 hoes. But to have invited you, that would have taken too much maturity.
I'm a brother. KG and I grew up together. Like, you're over here, like, where you've forgotten where the genesis of our relationship. Like, we were kids struggling to make it, to make a life better for our kids and our families. Like, at what point do you just say, you know what, it's just basketball. It's not personal.
You know why that is, brother? Because many of these professional athletes, they start to look at their sport as a religion. Just like many of the fans look at the sport as a religion. And I touched on it in the video that I did pertaining to Isaiah Thomas stating that all black people are not from Africa. Prior to him making that revelatory statement, he was trying to go into or at least divulge in depth his belief that basketball has been so integral in the transformation of American society, and sports has been so important in the engineering of society. What is he saying? He's calling himself a priest, and he's calling basketball a religion. You have certain players like a Kevin Garnett who view basketball as a religion. He does not know how to separate. He's caught in that basketball rabbit hole. Ray Allen knows how to switch off once he leaves the basketball court. Kevin Garnett doesn't. And Kevin Garnett has created a cult of personality around himself for his so-called intensity, which he's very fortunate. He was allowed to do that in a certain era. But in the early 90s, they would have broke his ass up. Guys like Oakley and those guys, they would have just, they would have let him know. A lot of the older power forwards from the late 80s, early 90s, they kind of let a lot of it go with Kevin Garnett because they knew that he was an important player for the future of the NBA. So guys like Barkley and Oakley and those players, they would let certain of his histrionics go in the late 90s because they knew that he was important for the future of the league. But had he come into the league 10 years earlier, he would have really had to fight. Just for the fact that he was so overly histrionic in his gesticulations. Like, give me a break.
Like,
Ray, why do you think they're so in their feelings about this as opposed to you? It seems that you're saying, hey, this is a business. I made a decision for my family. There are things bigger than basketball. And it seems as though they are very hurt by it. Why do you think that is?
Especially KG.
That is a question that you have to ask them. But
yeah, you do have to ask them. But it's very obvious to me why they're so hurt. They're hurt because you left and you won a championship. It's like someone who's in a long-term relationship with someone else, and the love that they had was deep. For whatever reason, the relationship ended, and one person goes on to find love with someone else. And that other person is left just looking like, wow, I can't believe this. That's what happened. They're butthurt. And they're heartbroken that you left their squad and you actually won with another team that was led by a player that they all personally hated, that being LeBron James.
But one thing that I talk about in my book is...
Yeah, brother, bring it back to the book.
Is that I want people to get from my book is, as people, we've all done great things and, good things and bad things in our life. But what makes us truly great is our ability to pick up from our mistakes. I've all made mistakes. I can admit that.
Well, we know you've made mistakes, brother. God knows that. Shit, you got catfished by a damn tranny. Shit, can't get much worse than that.
The things that have gone wrong in my life, they've only got me to where I am today. I can tell you what I've done wrong.
Oh, we definitely know you can tell us. Everybody else can tell you as well. Lord knows Molly's right there sitting to your right. Saying, oh, I know. You like chicks with dicks.
I can tell you the shots I've missed, they've made me work harder. So I can admit that, I should have really thoroughly engaged those guys as I was going through the process, but it's difficult at the time.
All right.
And I also think that you kind of partially knew that it was not going to be received well, brother. Let's be for real. For you to tell Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce, not only am I not going to be back, but I'm also going to be signing with the Miami Heat, you knew that it was not going to be received well. You knew that they were probably going to curse you out.
Totally understand. But now that you didn't engage those guys, as you eloquently stated, time has passed. We obviously know they have feelings about it. Have you reached out? Do you intend to reach out to them? Do you wish they'll reach out to you? Where are we now?
Where we are right now is that this has NBA TV written all over it. We've had Isaiah Thomas and Magic Johnson. We've had Kobe and Shaq. We now need to have Ray Allen, Kevin Garnett, and Paul Pierce come together for NBA TV and rehash their time period together in Boston from 2007 to 2012. That's what we need. And I think that it will make for great TV.
Well, going back to your point when you said the three of us, Paul, Kevin, and I, we came in this thing together. I felt extremely bad about not having a conversation with Paul at all. I had an opportunity in China to speak with him and say, listen, it was not my intention to not say anything to you. I feel extremely bad about that. I should have called you. I should have texted you. I should have alerted you that this was coming down the pipeline. As I was conversating with Kevin by text, I was in a position where I was upset. I was angry because what was going on wasn't going the way I wanted it to go.
Yes, you felt like you were like you were being undervalued by Boston. That's how you felt. It's like they say, hurt people, right? So he felt hurt by Boston, so he decided he was going to hurt them by going to Miami. That's okay. That's part of the passion of sports. That's why people like sports. That's why they watch sports. Like, I get a lot of these nut jobs who come on my channel who think that every aspect of everything in life is rigged and a hoax. And why do you watch sports? I watch sports because it entertains me. Don't worry about why I watch sports. Sports is a distraction. No, sports is a distraction for you. Probably because your brain doesn't function on a certain level. I don't get distracted by sports. It's entertainment. But it does reveal different aspects of the human condition, of human nature. That's why I like sports. That's why I use it as a backdrop. It also allows me to expound on different concepts, because what we see in sports, we oftentimes see in life. Sports can be a microcosm for life.
But at the same time, he can't say that I wasn't talking to him and telling him what was going on, because he knew as I texted him. So now as we sit here, it's like, dude, there's no ill will. I don't have any angst. These guys I love. These guys, like, how many, you ask the kids in Wellesley, Massachusetts, how many times they came to my house during Halloween, and how many times they seen Kevin, Big Baby, Big Poppy, Kevin Euclid, Nate Robinson dressed up in a costume over my house and trick-or-treating. Like, we spent time in each other's homes.
I wonder what y'all was dressed up as. Probably the cast of Star Wars. I'm guessing Nate Robinson played Yoda.
Like, yeah, we went to each other's events. There's some events we didn't go to, but we all always support each other. That's why when I'm sitting out listening to these things, like, I'm not a part of the Big Three. I was like, first of all, we're the Big 12.
Agreed. Good job there, Ray.
Because it took 12 of us. I don't leave anybody out. Eddie House, James Posey, Big Baby, PJ Brown, Sam Cassell. Everybody was important. Scott Pollard. Like, it was all of us.
Well, that's because you think like a man. But I will say this, that when that quote-unquote intervention occurs, when you guys make your appearance, hopefully, on NBA TV, it is just going to be you three guys. Because let's be for real. When you guys formed together like Voltron on the Boston Celtics in 2007, it was something that the NBA had not seen in years. A big three come together in that fashion. Maybe not since the 1970s LA Lakers. In regards to a team that had brought superstars together from different teams. Now they already had Jerry West and Elgin Baylor, but then they brought in Walt Stilt. I believe Walt signed with them in 1968. So that was something that the league had not seen in a long time. That made a very big splash, and it also influenced LeBron James to conceive of the Big Three in Miami.
And we were all involved, and that's what I wanted people to know. It wasn't just the three of us, and we all shared something special. I know each one of their kids. Every time I see them, I know their wives. So when I talk about them, I always say it in respect to Brandy and to Julie. All the people that we spent time with.
Appreciate your honesty. We can get more, of course, from this. From the Outside, My Journey Through Life and the Game I Love, Ray Allen's book, available now.
I'm buying it.
Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate you.
Yes, thank you, Ray Allen. You did a great job in this sit-down. You handled yourself very well. Showed a great deal of comportment. And it's good that you finally got your side out. So that is the end of this two-part feature on Ray Allen, first ballot Hall of Famer. But anyway, peace.